removing. But most teams also play it. So it's one of those things where it's like, how much are you cutting off your nose to spite your face?
We have very much seen, I suppose, above Celestial, a change up in how often Magneto's being played, but I think that is just coinciding with the fact that Cloak and Dagger isn't played as much. So the direct counter of the Meteor M doesn't apply as much. But also, then you look at the combo, like I said earlier, with the Thing. There's so much that you can do there to deny. And then with Wolverine having a place in the meta
There you
before,
go.
Magneto was so important. And the ban will come in onto Magneto. And I think the main thing that makes him so strong is the fact that he can essentially one hit, right? With a combo, he can kill or eliminate, I should say, most squishies, which is really, really strong. Now, the protection on Invisible Woman, I'm a big fan of. This is what we were talking about earlier. I feel like coming into the this patch overall, people weren't putting a lot of respect on Invisible Woman. People said, like, and it hurt my feelings that close behind Jeff, Invisible Woman's the second worst healer. And I think that we have moved away from that now, seeing the value that she can bring to the table. Loki, on the other hand, such an annoyance having that sort of extra, whether it's Fate of Both Worlds, whether it's Invisible Boundary, it doesn't matter. That extra healer ult is insanely valuable. So understandable that protection goes in there.
Yeah, I think as well it's the additional team up Invisible Woman gets, but also I think that Invisible Boundary has become such a large area, and actually we're gonna see the Adam Warlock removed again. I assume that's due to having that awkward combination of basically being able to have all of those additional buffs and reses, and then also quite common to potentially run it as an additional comp alongside another strategist. So I don't mind this at all. I think there's nothing too crazy. Obviously, the rocket ban, I think in the past, after a few people slated the hero, I think with the team up that you can get is just too good a ban to miss. So you can basically remove any chance of that unlimited ammo by taking out one of them. But I will say, interestingly, that ban still didn't stop the Winter Soldier from being banned, because you just still don't want to see that Kraken's impact again and again and again.
Yeah, it's just how impactful he can be, right, on an individual level. I think I can certainly empathize with the removal of Rocket as well, considering the healing is fairly easy. He's an annoying character to take out, but the fact that you can also pop a res on one player, we've seen that used for quick resets. It gives you almost an extra fight if it is going to be someone valuable like the Thing that's picked off an initial fight. You need that Vanguard, you need that Space Taker, and so you get them back online for a second fight of the cherry. It's a big deal. So we're into our game already. I'm delighted. I don't know about you, Tom. We get to see a little bit more action. Interesting to see. So first of all, Hulk not played a ton. Great to see him in play. The fact that we have the Adam Warlock ban and still the Star-Lord in play for Weeknd Boys, I think it's a good job that Adam Warlock isn't here. This would be a very tough game indeed. We've seen this backside invade previously, even in just our last round 7 game on this map, and it's working well to start with. The opening pick goes the way of Loki, and Star-Lord dropped down, and he'll take a minute to get back into the action, taking advantage of the lack of damage coming out of that side, or so they thought. They'll at least find one more onto Namor. Samuel doing his best to hold on for dear life. And the picks coming in all over for 4XgEKv, or NIP as we'll refer to them from here on out.
Yeah, they're slightly easier to remember, but yeah, I think already just the amount of sheer DPS that we're seeing come out of that Hela in combination with Storm, 2 of the heroes that if you're accurate, you're going to be able to wipe squads incredibly quickly. Hela even going to get a damage boost from Storm as well, so chance for those headshot insta is going to be so high. Already, they're taking a very aggressive stance, just basically trying to force that defense back before they can even get anywhere near the point.
That's a Loki that's stolen the ult. What? The Storm ult steals, not something you'll see every day. It's worked out to start with for a decent amount of damage, but picks coming the way of Weeknd Boys. The Hulk diving in, but now being dove on as the Storm all around him. For now, at least, it looks like they will just tank that damage and be happy to reset. the Galactic Legend online. Loki's going to keep the squad immortal for a moment, and the return from Kingsley, but they've already rounded the corner, at least pushing them back, and a pick found, a double pick, maybe even the third. Lots of damage that will get the point moving.
Big fan of watching Hela gameplay. The goddess herself has already had a fantastic start to this matchup. So much in terms of hit scan damage, but bringing through the ult to potentially wipe out Invisible Boundary, going to help them even further with just keeping themselves alive. This first point looks like it's going to go easy unless there's a very quick response, and well, it's not to be. This close range brawl that's coming through, the clobbering that is causing issues, and then that hit scam from the back. They are struggling at the moment on the defense. Still 5 minutes to do 1 point.
It's a crazy aggressive comp, right? Like, Nip can move so quickly. It's a high mobility comp, but also the fact that you've got Loki stealing DPS, stealing duelist ultimates. So coming in with the healing, the immortality fields for the Galactic Legend as well helped out a ton. And then add to that the fact that, you know, you've got 2 Storm ults. Well, Storm is one of those heroes I wanted to talk about as someone that isn't having the impact that people thought that she would. We thought that everyone has the banner. She's so strong, especially if you have Human Torch. You got to ban one of them. That hasn't really been the case, but here at least we're seeing that damage. This time, Weeknd boys get into the fight. Their teeth fully fighting in as they find themselves stopping the statue. But look how much time is in play for Nip. 4 minutes and 15 seconds as they tee up for their next fight.
A lot of that came down to the Galactic Legend as well. Sure, Hulk got a couple of the KOs, but that ultimate did so much damage to chip them away. Invisible Boundary is available if the save is needed. But already finding Shuvi, that might be enough to sort of deter the need for that ultimate, at least yet. Still, Hulk also available to pull through that World Breaker if necessary. It does seem like they have a lot stacked up on that defensive side, but I'm looking again at the potential of that Hurricane to come through, maybe even twice if they need it. They've almost got all 6 ults, in fact.
Yeah, 2% away from that being the case. In fact, it's almost there now, but they've lost Strange. Invisible Boundary put in for safety from Weeknd. They're being pulled in a little bit. That looked awkward, but they managed to survive it up top. Hela not finding the impact with Invisible Boundary, making it hard to hit enemies and hard to really do meaningful damage. As the boundary fades on Nip's side, in comes the cavalry for Weeknd boys. A first fight going their way. The pick back in the other direction keeps this fairly neck and neck with spawns pretty close to each other as well. You were looking at even distances to that statue. The next pick being of massive value. But with all those ultimates used up for no value, this is huge. Weeknd boys with a phenomenal hold. This should have been a huge danger with all of the damage output that Nip have. They've got nothing.
Yeah, I was a little bit worried for them because we saw them utilize Galactic Legend themselves. Punisher also using the final judgment, which didn't have a lot of impact, but then just in the overall fights, they came out on top. That's not lasted long, though. A response from Storm, the Thing, clobbering as well, and they're going to get ever closer to the final stages of this point, the final room, and you can see that, again, this double Vanguard combo are just looking to get right into the faces of their opponent. The smoke screen shrouding slightly, but any further positioning and they will be revealed, and they are getting right towards the last few meters of this battle.
Look at that dive. So much coming in from the Thing. He's keeping those Vanguards back, and well, then the high ground is taken on the other side, but Kingsley isn't able to capitalize. Another big pick coming out of Punisher for Weeknd boys. And the Invisible Boundary, it's only buying time. It's even. The Vanguards fighting outside of it. They meet their fate. And the fate of both worlds pulled into play to try to give them a chance. That's the Loki steal used. Take the ulti, but look, as soon as it fades, Galactic Legend comes online. Immortality fields being dealt with by the rest of the squad, and that's making it an easy connection for their Star-Lord. The pick onto Loki sends them back. They need that healer to push through this point, and a minute on the clock. This could be one more fight for the side of NiP.
Yeah. Ryuf as well has been holding on to that final judgment. I noticed it when the invisible boundaries went down. He already had it online, but the whole plan was to basically wait until the right moment, maybe waiting for those strategist ultimates to be gone, but he was beaten to the point by the Galactic Legend. It means it's still available. Alcatraz with the Eye of Agamotto, the Hurricane put into play, but it's a good addition of the fate of both worlds to keep them standing, to keep them alive. Now Helen looks to try and have a go herself, but it's just going to be the trade out of ultimates. She has managed to get rid of that final judgment, remove Punisher from play, but still more and more is thrown in. Again, it's going to be this invisible boundary causing the attackers issues, not being able to wipe out their opponents in track, and they've been forced back again from 5 minutes, Mitch. They are down to just 8 seconds.
This is tragic, but I like the fact that they fall back. This gives them a little bit of space. Those rotations much longer for them with their spawn further back, but it gives time for the setup. The turret in play. It's shredding the shields, and it's shredding the whole squad. That damage is massive, and with the Galactic Legend raining down fire from above, this one is surely done. They've stopped it before that final point, but as we've seen before, Tom, that doesn't mean the game is over.
Oh, for sure. A fantastic recovery, though. As I said, those first 2 points went by like the wind. Like, if you blink and you'd miss it. They had over 5 minutes to try and get the final point done. But as we've said, in a lot of maps, I think including this one, sure, that first point can be difficult, but the last one is such a tight choke, such close spawns. And I think you have to give a lot of credit to those defensive strategist ultimates. I think Save Hope especially, with the ability to just throw in every single time they need it. I feel like he had an invisible boundary ready and raring to go and kept so many important players up and alive while those fights went on.
Well, we'll see if there's any sort of a change up as you move to the defensive side. I think that, at least for NiP, you're looking at that Namor alongside the Luna. That can do a lot in terms of slowing them down. And, you know, I liked what they were going for, and especially the opening. I think that first fight was just phenomenal. The fact that Loki quickly gets his ult online, uses it to take the Omega Hurricane from Storm, and then Storm uses the Omega Hurricane. It's so difficult to avoid one of them, let alone two. And the Twin Tornadoes taking it across the line in the first couple points, but yes, they stopped just shy. So victory in regulation possible for the Weeknd boys. The Squids gonna be the first targets to get laid into.
You mentioned as well earlier the lack of that combination. I think for Ninim that didn't seem like too much of an issue, maybe in some of the early battles, but he definitely had a huge comeback. Clearly still confident in what he can find from that hero. The stun, you know, made things a little bit more tentative for the Thing. Of course, this first fight, if you go down, you have got a long stroll back to try and get into position. And for now, it's a lot of players taking hefty damage for NIP, but yet to find a final blow for the Weeknd boys just yet.
I said earlier, we failed to take this point when Rivals first came out. First 40 or 50 times I played, we never invaded the high ground like this. And it seems to be that is just what all of the teams are doing with great success. Samuel with a huge pick, taking down Storm. And I believe that was just as the ult was popped. Take a look at the ult charge, 3% on Junko. So that ult getting no value whatsoever. Not even being activated, ultimately just the key pressed and an immediate death.
Not struggling in the way. They're intentionally taking damage so they can charge up the strategist ult. Absolutely love it. Just the small details that you find, like your average gamers will be dodging those flames as much as possible. They can get right back into the battle, and you can see Venny already having that fate of both worlds online and ready and raring to go.
Legendary, the Galactic Legend popped up top, invisible boundary. Stepping outside, that is a little bit of a risk, but they focus their heals, they keep them alive, And the ult is ultimately just waited out for NiP. 4 ultis of their own. Active we're on with Alcatraz, and there's a possibility for Aya Bagamoto right here. A lot of players grouped up. He's looking for his opportunity, but he might, yeah, indeed, he might not need it. Samuel's answering back though for a kill, and in goes the horn. That's gonna knock them to the floor, but there's not really a lot of picks. It's Invisible Woman going down, and that will stall out Weeknd boys. They're not really given a chance. Then trapped behind the statue. They had some cover to hide behind, but once NiP push up, that's the end of the fight.
Oh, just about managing to survive. I don't think it make a massive difference because still has to be the fallback all the way. And
he's being popped.
It's gonna have to be a small farm back up. Again though, choking out a little bit earlier than their opponents did. Think about how far NIP managed to get. This could be the immediate response, no final judgment. It's still going to get one pick before the fate of both worlds can be popped to save them. That's decent damage. Looking to try and force them back a little bit further again. Galactic Legend, but that is a slaughter. Kingsley. Again, we've mentioned it throughout the day so far about how strong that combination of giving that extra little bit of damage over to Namor. And so far, well, the Namor has been fantastic.
Yeah, and I think that highlights a problem, Tom. You're popping Galactic Legend against the Namor, but there's still squids online. It was the squid that took the kill. Granted, 2 very quick connections from Namor, but then that easy follow-up from the auto-aim AI. So that's a big problem. You can't be making those kind of mistakes. And, well, I don't think we'll make that mistake again. But for now, Kingsley happy with the pick, happy with the ult online as well. And again, the impact from these horns has been phenomenal. Junko even has the Omega Hurricane. Big dive in from Cardis. It's going to be the Hulk taking one, and that's a healer down for the side of NiP. They're left with just Invisible Woman for now, and a second pick coming through. Omega Hurricane at this point, but I'm not sure the impact it's going to have with the pop out on the other side from Save Hope. They just hide inside that invisible boundary.
And this is the space they wanted, the space that they needed. Again, we're looking at Real Jeff. So on that Namor on the other side, we'll be able to hold them back. I don't think there's going to be any chance to deny this space to the second point, but this is where their opponents really struggled. They have a lot less time on the clock. Again, though, another pick, but I'm expecting eventually there'll be some sort of regroup from this defensive side.
Yeah, I think they're just getting caught there because they wanted to contest the payload before it hit the checkpoints. They're kind of out of position. It was a good spot from Kingsley to pop the ult from, but obviously once the squad goes down and once it hits the payload, there's no point wasting it. So he goes down, hits the reset, and now Namor's back and ready for the fight. That's huge. Although the ult from Weeknd boys is a little too deep, it doesn't end up landing. Good return though, with Ninim able to find one. Cardis popped as well though, so the Hulk not going to be as present in the fight, not going to be taking that same space as it goes for the revive. The timer continues to tick with Weeknd boys. I would have thought being forced to step back and regroup a moment, they continue forward. Well, that goes about as you'd expect.
Yeah, it's going to be a bit frustrating because now Ninim isn't available with the rest of the squad who were ready and set to refight together. The other 5 players were just waiting outside of the choke to get back through, but because he was so far in front, not really going to be available. They've got to be careful of the backline. You can see Real Jeff is going to fall. Junko is going to make sure that there is no further push, no further backline awkwardness. Well, again, that means that there's been a player isolated in a fight, and so they can't look to group this yet.
Just so strong, man. This Storm buff, look how much damage output they've got. Every shot being amplified by Storm. I mean, Junko's impact is absolutely huge at the moment. The ult even going to be online with Kingsley having his squids, but now popped and Junko down. Okay, this is a good start. The roll beginning to come through for the side of Weeknd boys. Aya Bagamoto just coming online, and it will be activated here to little effect. Good shielding, I say, as down goes Invisible Woman. A healer down for NiP, and perhaps they'll be forced back, especially with the invisible boundary in play. That's countering out the Aya Bagamoto, stopping any impact and leaving Alcatraz slowed and dealt with by the Hulk.
That's a lot of ultimates that have just been used at one time in order to try and deny. The backline is going to be cleared by Yonko, looking to try and take down both. Was so incredibly close, but got exiled. It doesn't matter. That is the exact play that they were looking for. Yonko wiping out both strategists. It has to be a full reset, and now we are getting into the exact same position we saw before. Stuck towards that backline, stuck to try and get this one over that finish line. And Mitch, there is 35 seconds. They may only get one more shot at this.
35 seconds, Tom, and they've already used both of their healing ultimates as well, so no free space, no fallback, no protection or safety net to land on. It's going to be the ult pop. Looking for something, but the invisible boundary online for Nip keeps them alive. That's the mistake from Yonko. Steps out into open space, maybe thinking the ult was already faded, but it was far from gone, far from over, perhaps for Weeknd boys. Star-Lord try as he can connect an extra kill, and the respawns will come through soon. Kingsley in with one, in with two, in fact, looking for more, and he'll find it. Alcatraz helping out as they start and maybe finish this roll with overtime ticking and no one on the point. That is
unlucky.
They stopped them just before the final point. It's close, but a matter of meters in it.
Yeah, there was a last-ditch attempt at a portal to try and get back onto the site, but I think just a millisecond out, that will be the final score. That will be this round going the way of NIP, and while Yonko is going to be the one to take that MVP, an impressive performance in the end to finish that one off, but an incredibly close affair. Like, yeah, as you saw mentioned, I think it came down to some very, very tight team fights. I'll also say that that double DPS that we've seen from Kingsley and Yonko was very impressive. Like 18 final hits as well. We've mentioned it before, how much impact we can see off of the back of that Namor and what you're able to do with it.
Well, this is it. I mean, defensively as well, though, when you're sat there with a Namor, just being able to pop up those squids, when you've got squishies flying through the air that are easy. I mean, shouldn't necessarily be easy targets for the Namor, but it looked easy. There were some clean picks onto a flying Star-Lord, even when the ult was online. But again, the fact that you have that buff, the fact that you have storm damage buff as well, and then your squids just shredding people behind, it worked out wonderfully. And I think then moving on to the next map with Nip already having that advantage under their belt, I'm curious to see where the bans go, because we talked today about how you don't really expect to see Storm banned out. She hasn't had as much impact over the game as most people expected when we came into this patch. The reality is now, looking at what we just saw, it might be worth taking it out of the pool, because I don't think you're going to have the same game if Nip don't have a Storm.
Yeah, I think it was even just like the extra damage boost for both sides, for Hela and for Namor. Like, it was, those were the players that were getting the majority of those final hits, but it was because they were being damage boosted almost the entire time. Interestingly, though, it's actually going to be the Loki that's taken out. Obviously, the ability to steal the majority of those ultimates, bring in extra strategist ults back, or even extra hurricanes, as we saw. And, well, we're going to see the Magneto removed once again.
Oh, I see that we've got a Spider-Man hover, but I'm assuming that we are being full trolled by Yonko. We'll see if that's the case when we really get into the game. We're moving into the protection phase, and Luna Snow being protected, alarm bells ringing. That Luna Snow and Namor combo was deadly. That's a strange defend, especially with the thing, like I said, being so prevalent at the moment. I just expect Wolverine to fall off, but we saw it last series in round 7, and here again we may be seeing it once more. Namor ban, that's essential with the Luna Snow protect.
Yeah, I think they know exactly where their opponents are trying to go with this, so just making sure that they can't have that combat. And I feel like what we're seeing at the moment for NIP is just kind of removing some of the meta picks, like that Winter Soldier, the same coming out from Magneto. It's like those are just things that we've seen in the past that have been so effective, so I think they're trying to shift things almost away from the norm.
Question, is Ninum trolling? Is this actually going to happen? I would love it if it did.
We'll wait and see. The thing is with with the removal of the Magneto having that additional couple of shields, like this dive composition could be nasty. Like I think especially like I was a huge fan when we watched last time out the Venom play. I think it was fantastic. So I'm always down for some Venom, but as I've learned, until somebody actually selects a hero or leaves the spawn and is ready to battle, I'm not going to get too excited about it.
Yeah, I think that's fair. You know, we've learned that in many games where hero, agent, or whatever it may be, select comes into play. The hovers, they're never worth talking about, but here I am talking about them because I just don't see a Spider-Man kept this late often. It's exciting me, Tom. I don't get to see much Spider-Man. He's left the spawn! He's doing it! He's doing it already! Web swinging all over the place. Oh, this is going to be one hell of a game. Ninim looked unbelievable on the Star-Lord. I think had like 31 eliminations or something, even though they lost the game. This is something I've got confidence in. I don't know how good Ninim Spider-Man is, but I'm already favoring him. This is it's looking like madness, but he shut down immediately. That's sad.
Yeah, that's not the start you're looking for. I think the dive in combination with Venom obviously gives an opportunity for a little bit of that invulnerability or the damage that you can send out, but it clearly wasn't quite prepared for the way that fight's going to go. And on the other side, they are sticking to fairly similar ideas. Yunko still on that storm. I'm terrified of the idea of a damage buff Punisher, but this is already what you can see, just the awkwardness that can be created from a Venom with that dive. But so far, the defense have done well to deal with it.
Yeah, obviously as well, you know, when Spider-Man pops that symbiote bond, he's going to be invincible now, as well as doing that damage and repelling enemies. But for now, he's not been able to be very invincible at all. Shut down in both initial dives with an immediate response by Nip. And the judge is here. He's not pulling any punches. Maximum sentence being dished out as we speak. And while Shuvi is chasing them into their spawn, that is a statement elimination. Ninim does well. Catches one flying up above the pack. Storm has deleted the dive here onto the healers. A real chance for the pick, but good adaptation from the healers to not only keep themselves alive, but then to pick Ninim out of the sky.
Yeah, that's the thing. Ninim really does a lot of the time going to have to play as this almost solo hero. Not going to have the same support, just of the pace that he's going to be moving at, and the whole concept of attacking that backline. It's nice, but if you're unable to remove those strategies from play, it can become incredibly difficult. A lot of low HP players, but that is where the fate of both worlds can come into play. You're also going to get the Hurricane out, but that will be removed by that invisible boundary, and a huge pickup from Ninim. In fact, the double. That's both of the duelists down. They can't be saved if you remove them from position. And well, now we are seeing the value, the true value of that Spider-Man.
An amazing combo, quite literally. That's what the ability is called. He's done a remarkable job getting involved, and now the ultimate online as well. Spectacular spin can cause mayhem in the lines of Nip. Good take from Weeknd boys, but that is just the first point. They've got to get Spider Zero all the way to the Budokan. That is quite the journey. A good dive here, though. I mean, maybe it's just out of position for Alcatraz. He's a little far forward all alone, and they are not letting him get away with that. Good dive as well from Cardis. Ninim in there with the ultimate activated, and that will put this fight to bed.
This is the thing. They can very, very quickly get into a spot where they can look to just delay this squad as they're way back through it. It's tough when you're facing up against this combination. The only goal for Ninim is to try and remove a player or two. That's exactly what he's done. Yunko as well, someone that we mentioned is so integral to playing with the squad. You want that damage boost for everybody. A lot of these sort of duelist characters, you can almost play a little bit more individually, play on off angles, play on high ground. You can't really do that with Storm. You need to be with the team. So that's a big pickup, and then also removing a strategist from play. I'm thinking Ninim might just be the difference maker in this match.
They're still in their spawn. They're still in their spawn. They respect the Spider-Man, the space that he's bought. They can't get on this in time. That's the point taken, surely. Yes. It's across the line before they stayed in their spawn for 30 seconds, Tom. They got picked off once by a Spider-Man, and that sent them running, and they're still not gonna get out. He's on them again. Ninim, you madman. This guy came in, he hovered the Spider-Man, and I thought, surely not. Today could be the first for me, and oh my goodness, Ninim, you're delivering one hell of an experience. Just look at how far they're pushing the payload. They haven't touched the payload in a minute and a half. Ninim's just shredding them. Oh, this is devastating.
This does feel like one of my ranked games. You come up against a Spider-Man, you get Spider-Man diff, and it just feels hopeless. It feels like there's nothing that they could do. And I think that the further distraction that's being made, the combination with the Venom,
nothing else.
Well, still within that deep line, invisible barrier will keep them healthy, but again, it is just this problem. Cades is also still now hitting that backline again. That payload has been moving the entire time. There's yet to be a response. It's going to be the Thor utilized to try and do some damage. It's connected, but they've been able to hold things on with that fate of both worlds. That ult was completely denied.
This is unbelievable to witness. Yeah, Kingsley's gotten diffed so hard, he's swapping over. Popped the judge, jury, executioner, but couldn't say the last line because Ninim is the executioner. The ultimate activated, but Yunko picks him off. A huge delivery for the side of Nip. Oh, Venom barely made it out, but that will keep them in this fight. Weeknd boys holding on the corner, waiting about 3 more seconds until Ninim is there in their back lines and already having a pick. Guy can see it coming.
It's worth mentioning as well, this feels like the last game. The Alcatraz swap is a huge buff for Yunko, getting that additional lightning ability. Eye of Agamotto used, but denied. Nothing caught, and instead Venom has the entirety of the team doing so much damage along the way, and there is Spidey to team up alongside him. Ninim again. He's been out of the action a little bit. Yunko trying to save the day with the Hurricane, but it's nothing found once more. The invisible boundary's doing so much in denial, and with the full squad wiped out again, they're just going to look to try and force them back, do extra damage, isolate these fights, get them into individual battles, and Ninim with another clear, looking for even more. It is that dance of the butterflies, which may just clear out the remainder of the site, or attempting to at least, but it hasn't got enough. 0.59 meters is all they need, and surely at this stage they'll find it.
That's a real shame, Tom. That couldn't have ended in a worse way. They switched to Jeff in a panic, finally bringing out the best hero in the game, and he can't even make it out of spawn before the game is over. You know, had he have been involved in the fight, no doubt Nip would have turned the tides back, but a shame the shark couldn't swim fast enough. Weeknd boys, Ninim in particular, ridiculous. I had high hopes seeing the Spider-Man hover. I had high hopes seeing Spider-Man leave, and I think he got picked off the first 2 times he came near anyone, and it wasn't looking good. I was almost waiting for the switch back and for, you know, what the new identity would look like, but the impact that he had in, I can't even remember the name of the building. It's the building where Captain America is stored during Black Widow. That was insane. Being in the second point, right, just after the first point, being able to pick off the storm, that bought 30 to 40 seconds. They try to retreat to set up for another fight. He picks off the storm again, and now that a literal minute and a half without them touching the payload. I don't think I've seen that in ranked games where my teammates are trolling. So that's got to be frustrating, to be scrambling for answers and not finding them. And now, well, he's on the defense. He's already sitting above their spawn. Good luck to all the players.
It was impossible when they were pushing into. Yeah, but you have to at this stage. I wonder if there's been even the bringing in of that Adam Warlock, just as it is a high damage strategist, very good for picking off squishies. So I wonder if that's almost an attempt at a direct counter. They're going to be pulling in the triple strategist for this early brawl, although it's definitely looking a little bit awkward early, but they'll bring them back to full HP.
think that's the thing as well, though, right? Like, you've got Ninim going around picking you off, so then you can pop the res without a Warlock with Mantis as well, bringing themselves back into the fight. That could be huge instead of waiting the whole fight without a healer. I think they're gonna have to wait a while anyways at this point. Good pick off by Lord Glorp, but that is just one, a drop in the ocean. And with the dive in from Venom, the harassment of the back line commences. Soulbond keeps him alive for now, but in comes Ninim to help out. In goes Ninim. He's flying all over the place. Not sure how he even managed to move in that direction.
Even taking little chip damage from above. Now they've got their Storm back in play. Shortitude eliminated, and while an Eye of Agamotto that has, I think, ended this fight before it even really began. They haven't got anywhere near taking this point just yet. And in fact, it is once again a complete wipeout. At least of the majority of NIP. They've had to just fall back, and while falling back means going right into the Lion's Den. Ninim is waiting.
So is Venom. The double dive, ready to roll. Of course, Spider-Man can grab himself the opening pick nice and easy. Grab someone in, do the damage, get out. That's what he's trying to do. But in a moment, Venom's going to be joining him as well. Symbiote Bond activated, and so is the ultimate of Ninim. Not for the kill, though. Great heals from Nip to keep everybody alive through that engagement. They've still got more dive to deal with, though. Venom up top and an ult online for real Jeff. That's a Storm. Omega Hurricane looking to come down hard on NIP. It's activated the Eye of Agamotto, but again, looking for the picks on the back of it. Something else. They quickly scatter to the winds, and huge isolation by Ninim. Kingsley down. Alcatraz out of here, and well, they are very much not getting away with this push. 1/3. Oh, hold on. They pop the res inside the spawn, and the Soulbond keeps them alive for now, but the dive is immediately on them. Venom was there like a millisecond after those players came back into game. But it seems like they're going to be able to stem the bleeding. They're sustaining this.
Yeah, they've been able to hold on at least for a little bit. Yunko's done well. The Wolverine will eliminate Samuel, and this might be finally a fight that is going their way. The res seemingly being the difference maker, keeping them in that battle just a little bit longer than expected by their opponents, and that will be the take of the initial point.
Oh, that's what you thought.
Will it?
That's what they thought. But the portal used to get on in, the drag out by Wolverine. It's right on the precipice. A pixel in it. The fight's going Nip's way, though, and the ult used by Punisher. This time, Ninim doesn't delete him immediately. And so, yes, the payload will be taken. Spider Zero will begin to move. The others made it all the way to the drums of the Budokan. We'll see if the same can be said for Nip, as they've got 2 minutes and 50 seconds to bring this to the first checkpoint.
Definitely still going to be a tough one. Really struggled versus that Spider-Man in the first. We'll see if it still has the same impact here. Definitely doing a little bit better in some of these fights, especially getting rid of Venom off the rip. A double up combo of the dive is not going to be there, and the damage boost available. A second time we've seen that Spider-Man ultimate go through, attempting to take down the backlines with a spectacular spin and not working out.
Maybe that switch will come in eventually from Ninim, or maybe we'll just see that return to form. Omega Hurricane for now is certainly going to pad the gap between them. That shield's keeping Punisher in fighting form, and well, goodbye. The reset was called for, and there was no need for Yunko to farm ultimate points. Why give any percentage to your opponents, I suppose?
Yeah, I guess it's one of those things. As a solo Wolverine trying to survive, it's never really going to happen. Your goal is to be the tank buster, and I don't think you're going to get even remotely close to removing one of those vanguards. Decent fight, and then just look at that time already. A minute and a half halfway through this first brawl, but still a pretty big way to go. The chance for a Feast of the Abyss, which can easily drag them into a similar angle. They've got to be a little bit more careful with that.
Oh, a lot of damage being done here. He's berserking on them. Maybe that's gonna be able to find another. Oh, nah, not really. The thing is the worst person you want to run into there. No chance to take him away, and he can quickly dive back to his teammates. Storm, on the other hand, yeah, well, turn and tail anyways. This is dangerous too once you've got that turret set up on the point, you're moving with it, and tracking seems good for now. Great damage done, and Aya Bagamoto used from Nip. They're trying to really just shut this down. Meters from the payload reaching the end point. Weeknd boys have dove on to try to stop them, but it doesn't look like there'll be much to report home about. The ultimate from Spider-Man meeting the same fate as before. It's caught a couple, but the pick's hard to come by. They found Junko in the back lines, or Junko's found one in the back lines at least. I'm so used to him being the Storm. The other way around.
Still close. That's the thing. They've been able to get back into the action. Real Jeff finding another one with the Storm, and not far off the Hurricane. That could be absolutely everything. A response is going to be their last stand, and it may just be exactly that. Attempting to get something done, but there is that Hurricane. Again, an attempted sort of res coming out from Lord Glorp, but that hasn't actually gone to plan, hasn't been able to keep them in this battle, as Real Jeff again is just going ham within the site. I don't know if they're going to get this one over the line, Mitch. It looked like, again, it was a done deal, but right at the depths is where we see that battle back.
1, 2, 3.
A very impressive resurgence towards the end, a 3-1 scoreline in the end, Tom. And yeah, it looked like they were going to push that across the line, especially once the Eye of Agamotto came into play. That's activated, and I start to think, well, okay, you're meters away. You've caught 2 picks as well. It was Invisible Woman and Storm that the turret was able to just shred straight through. So from that point, it seemed inevitable that we were going to touch that point and move, well, at least towards that final checkpoint, but a huge stoppage in the end. I have to say, Tom, really impressed by what I saw from Ninum here. This was somewhere that, you know, when you see a Spider-Man come into play, I really don't know what to expect. I assume you've got some proficiency, but there's a lot of things you can do to respond to it. But the picks that Ninum was having, 20 final hits on Storm for the MVP, but 20 on Ninum that I will say single-handedly got them that payload to the first checkpoint and halfway to the second. So that really is, I will put the dub on his head, at least for that first half drive. He was beyond a key player. Just, he was the secret ingredient.
Yeah, I think as well, you look at any game and your 2 duelist players have 40 final hits between them. I think you're going to be having a good time. Like,
you should be winning that game.
There were a lot of moments where it really did feel like they were the difference maker, and we've obviously been hyping up the Vanguards throughout. I think that double combo with the Venom, I also just think it's that little bit of extra damage that you can do in the last second of your combo, like using that team up ability coming out from Venom, that just seems to work wonderfully for the Spider-Man. So it seems like they've got a lot in their back pocket. I also wonder, going into this sort of third and final, obviously the best of 3 decided in this last matchup, do you ban a Spider-Man?
I would think you're crazy.
Normally I'd say never
doing that.
But like,
I mean, like in ranked, you know, Spider-Man ban, absolutely get rid of him, because he's going to diff your teammates. They don't know how to play the game. I hate to tell you that. But when it comes to team play, I just don't expect to see it come through. But with the proficiency Ninum showed, it might be the best play. In fact, after what I just saw, geez, after the impact he had on pushing the payload first point, yeah, get rid of it. Either that or Storm, yeah, I can definitely see that. I think
the thing
both
is,
had too much impact.
The problem with that, though, is that at least from, if you go back to the first map, that was actually what worked out for Junko. So it's kind of like,
yeah,
you would almost have to spite yourself to do that. So I think it's going to be interesting to see.
It absolutely will. Well, I believe that the game is ready to roll. Remember, it's 1-1 in maps, so it all comes down to the symbiotic surface as we go to Clintar. Weeknd boys and Nip head to head. We have the band stage going down as we speak, and it's been back and forth, but we're starting out with a Bucky, the Winter Soldier, having too much impact understandable that we're going to see him go. This is a not even a match specific ban, but something we see just commonly. The same thing for Loki, having that extra heal, having the immortality fields. It just causes too many problems when someone's playing it well. This time Magneto's going to be kept safe as well.
Yeah. Well, that was the ban in the last map. I think that was one of the reasons they had so many issues. Is that was something that clearly wanted to be played, and that was the second ban coming out from the side of NIP. So, gonna have to potentially switch things up. I'm also seeing Cartier also hovering that Venom again. Obviously, we don't talk about hovers, but in this case, it was a pretty big factor. I'm also interested to see if maybe we'll get that Noir ban, especially when they've protected that Lunar Snow. There is an argument to be had that you might just want to remove the team up.
Yeah, I think that would make sense. For their side, though, NIP are going to remove Star-Lord. Just seeing the impact that can have. It's a middling ban. I do think, though, just thinking specifically about the game that we've had, not getting rid of your Storm, not getting rid of your Spider-Man, and Ninim's locking Spider-Man. Again, it's still early days, 20 seconds left, barriers to go, but after the game we just saw, I'd be surprised if he doesn't play it through here as well as Real Jeff. It makes sense, you know, that look, at its core, Tom, giving them Venom, giving them Storm, and giving them Spider-Man seems like a mistake.
Yeah, I'd say, though, that although it might sound silly when you look at like what they're actually bringing in, I think a Magneto could make a big difference. Not only do you have the availability of the shield that you can pull out to shield your teammate. It's not necessarily for you, but say you're getting dived on and they're going after your healers, pop a shield on the teammate, that's going to help out. But also, it is what we talked about with that combo of damage. The right, left, left. Like, you could eliminate that Spider-Man in very quick succession. So I actually really like the protection of the Magneto, because I do think that to stop that dive could be huge.
Well, I guess onboarding for viewers at home, if you see this guy going in with a couple haymakers and then jumping and slamming down, that's usually the player dead. If you get the jump move out of that combo, where your fists go up above your head and then you go swinging down below, that's usually the final hit, and we'll see it here.
Oh, I love it. He was trying to pull one of the players out of the map. That was the initial start from Nidim.
Oh, man. And actually,
I guess
I'm not even mentioning, right?
Fast enough.
I say the jump and slam down's the way you get the kill. Of course, I'm forgetting about this symbiotic bond because you've got Venom. It's going to do damage for you as well, so that's huge and a great start for Nidim already with the pick. Gets in for another Shortichu out of the game. That's an uppercut to eliminate him, and chasing for more. This time, though, the slam down not enough. The heals were great to keep their Luna Snow alive, but little consolation as they've been staggered again. It's going to take a while, and Spider-Man's going to be in the back line, slowing them down even more.
That's the thing, they're running a triple strategist, but his goal is basically just to run around the backline and eliminate them. If anything, running a third is kind of playing into the hands of Nidim, because it's more squishies that he can target. Again, it's that he immediately removed two strategists from the battle, and because of that, you're gonna have a solo heals with two vanguards? Like, that's not gonna work. You're not gonna keep both of them alive.
Well, also, poor Shortichu gets eliminated right off rip. Is in spawn, comes back to try heal his teammates. Spider-Man takes him out again. He's literally like crying in the back lines going, help, can you guys come back and escort me to the payload? Well, the payload isn't going to be moving anytime soon. Dive coming in, 98% air souls online, immediately activated. It's huge from Nidim, a three-piece, and there's more to this story. Oh, the damage is insane, and he's reset for more. That's the entire clock running down. Again, can be attributed to Nidim. His Spider-Man impact is insane.
Yeah, I think we may already be finding off. That's the one saving grace for Rocket, is you do actually have a small sliver of hope. But in the meantime, the rest of his team have all built up their ults. Like, that's the thing. The same can be said, though, for the opposing side. This is just going to be spam, Meteor M utilized to try and counter out one, but the shield is fantastic, actually. Yonko does a great job to be able to deny that Meteor M from removing his strategist from action. It took one shot. But that's the thing. 5 ultimates were expended there to take that first point. And it seems worthwhile.
Oh, Cartier's not getting out of there. Being picked off on the way back. That will get them a little bit of a snowball rolling. This is what Nip needed, as they have just been staggered throughout that first point. But moving the payload now. 3:30 on the clock. And this very doable. Much more narrow alleyways to work around as well. Could make it harder for Ninum to isolate some of these players, as he's had a field day of doing so far. The turret being attacked. In fact, no, it's just straight onto Punisher, and he's got him. One player isolated up top, and now the dive down. The ult used as well in the back lines. It's the healers that are his target. Cloak tries to get out of there, but it's Ninum who comes in with the dagger and lands it in her back. A beautiful display again from this Spider-Man, as Weeknd boys pick up the payload, push it slowly backwards.
I feel like it's a fun day for our observers. You could just follow Ninum on the Spider-Man, and you're almost definitely going to see something. Mitch, you excited?
I am thrilled, especially for Spider-Man. Shortichu's going to be able to survive a little easier than with Rocket Raccoon using those bubbles. At least that's what I would expect. There's not going to be a lot of heals from elsewhere, though. The Luna Snow combo with Jeff gets a little bit extra damage as well, but that might not matter. In fact, it will not. The team is being rolled, and the remaining players from Nip fall back again. 2:20 on the clock, a little less. They're being fought in their spawn. It will just be the pullback from Weeknd boys, but 2 more fights for Nip.
This is the thing, because of how much impact we're seeing from Ninum, the rest of the team are not needing to use their ultimates. Again, they're going to have all 5 of the remaining online. Sure, the attacker in a similar boat, it seems like their goal is almost to just try and save them up for a single fight, potentially clear everything out of there. Again, the target is found, the target is eliminated, just looking for further damage onto that backline. It leaves their vanguards with nothing to really play around. You can see that, again, that Doctor Strange was hopeful to get something on the front line, but when you don't have anybody with your back, it just becomes impossible.
Well, yeah, they couldn't heal. One healer picked off, and then the other 2 are being dove by Spider-Man. They got to heal each other. They got to stay alive. So you Vanguard up front, pushing up, begging for heals, but there's no way for that to happen. That's where in ranked they start typing at you, calling you names. So it's not my fault. Ninum is all over me. And look at this again, just causing problems. Ult is online. 1 minute on the clock. A single 1 fight from Weeknd boys will set them up to take this across the line. Oh, that's a huge ult too. Jeff grabs a couple, but it's immediately countered out by the Omega Hurricane. A huge pick back in return. Eye of Agamotto used up here by Nip as well. But the picks, they just don't come in. Instead, it's the other side, because Real Jeff and Ninum are not caught by that Agamotto's eye, and they're coming in instead, showing their ire. 1 minute turns to 35 seconds, and one last fight for Nip.
I love the idea that there's a guy playing Jeff being eliminated by a storm called Real Jeff. It's perfect irony that has not gone to plan, and as you said, the time are ticking. Again, they've only really got the Meteor M, which for the most part is used to try and counter out any of those healing ultimates. Instead, it's going to be used aggressively to try and remove it. It will do the job. That's Luna Snow down. The same can be said for Storm. This is one of the better fights we've seen from them. The problem is there's still that invisible boundary. That will look to buy time. That will look to give opportunities for the remaining defenders to get back into position. The fact is, though, Juvi's already on him, trying to push them back as much as possible, not allowing them the space to move forward, and that should get them quite a bit of ground.
Yeah, they're in overtime though. Just one fight needs to go the other way. You hope that someone from Weeknd boys can get in there and contest with a Venom especially.
Fate of both worlds.
Should be able to buy time indeed. Benny use Fate of both worlds any second now to push them forward. They're trying to take as much space as possible the first time around. Meteor M put into play, looking to take down those supports, but they won't be found. Soulbound keeping them alive for now. Omega Hurricane put into play though, and now they don't have a lot to fight back against this. They'll just have to try to dodge the tornado, but they are pulled in. Huge damage from up top, and the Soulbound not online for Shortichu. Nothing will go their way. Stopped before that checkpoint. And I have to say, Tom, we said coming into this, it looks like a mistake to allow the Weeknd boys to have the Spider-Man, the Storm, and even then adding into that the Venom, but primarily those two duelists. And it certainly seems to be the downfall of Nip here. Ninim is playing a phenomenal game.
Yeah, it seems like just an ultimate comfort pick that has been brought into this matchup. And you kind of understand from the other point of view that you go, okay, well, we're just going to look to make sure we have our picks. That was why they made sure to protect the Magneto. The problem is even with having 3 strategists in the backline, even having 3 trying to keep each other alive while also sticking it out for the 2 Vanguards, the chunkier of those characters, it just wasn't enough. Like, the second they lost one of their strategists, it felt just like pure panic stations. And even with having the likes of a Rocket or at times a Jeff to have that at least minimal chance of escaping, Ninim was so good at just picking off whoever else was left.
Well, I think at the end of the day, Tom, the low. So we talk about the bans on the one side, right? That Nip made a mistake by allowing these other characters to come through, and I think then you got to look at it the other way around. Initially, what was working for Nip? Well, they had a great time when it came to playing the Namor. They had a great time when it came to Loki. Both of those removed 2 games in a row, and since then, alongside the Spider-Man, Weeknd boys have looked untouchable. Really think they've just done their homework. They've done a great, well, they've read what's in front of them in that first map very well, and Nip haven't been able to adjust. That's a pick already. I can tell. Oh, maybe it's not quite connecting, and the heals instantly respond, but he's in for another. Just such an annoyance. Might need to use the symbiotic bond to stay alive, but no, actually does make it out.
That's the thing. A lot of the time, this initial choke point can be incredibly difficult to get through, but even just the distraction that's being caused, Soulbond needed to keep the team standing again, still just dissipating, but they're doing a lot of damage to the Venom. Potential for the early removal of that Vanguard, but he has been able to escape. Kingsley back over on that Hela, which we've already seen can do a lot of damage, but they don't necessarily have that same combo they had before. No longer the Storm, and again, this man in the backlines is just such a general irritation. The Raven used to escape, and will not escape for long. There's only one path that you can go down. Decent damage coming through from Lord Glorp, but it's only really those strategists and the Vanguards that left standing on that site, and while I do not think they'll be standing for long.
No, they're already gone. This fight is won by Weeknd boys. You know, if you're watching Ninim's gameplay here and thinking, man, I play Spider-Man, I don't know how he does it. How does he move like that? How does he swing around? Now, there are some settings that you've got to change. I'll give you that. But you can't do this. You can't. I'm confident in saying whoever you are, you can't do this. This is ridiculous. The proficiency with this hero is off the charts. And yes, he'll be picked out of the sky here, but he's also constantly quickly back in the action, constantly farming up ultimate as well, which is online. They've got 5 ultimates on that attack side, and they are not far away from the checkpoint either. They don't even need to make it to the first checkpoint to win.
Already, as the fate of both worlds has been expended, the Hurricane looking to try and clear out Lord Glorp, who has actually been doing the majority of the DPS from the backline with the strategist, but now they are just being picked apart. The Venom also just targeting that Rocket. It might be a little bit more difficult, at least you'd expect. No, he is on the full chase, but in the meantime, the rest of the team are just moving that payload forward. Yunko will get rid of real Jeff, of course, not playing the Jeff, but already halfway to their desired victory. With 4 minutes left to do so. Another Ninim pick. That's Lord Glorp. He's only just made it back.
I don't think it was even necessary to use the ult there. I guess they're scared of the potential sleep, the slumber we could have been put into. If I've managed to at least take them off the payload for now, that initial pick working out for them. The heals gonna take a while to get back into play. At least on Lord Glorp. I think he's just now making it around the corner, but Hela could use it now. Instead, uses the ult to stay alive. The Goddess of Death firing in. Real Jeff baiting a lot of those shots, dodging around, and yeah, there's going to be nothing bar a little bit of damage, but if anything, just charging the ultimates on the other side. Fate of Both Worlds was activated by Venny just to cover them. And now they still have invisible boundary for the next fight. They won't need it. This guy's insane. And double already. Lord Glorb down. And that's a healer out of play. Only Shortichu left around the area. And, well, nowhere near the thing. That is a shutdown with Shortichu not far behind. And I think Ninim's on his way to take him down any second now. He's already hit him with one of those little web clusters, and he's found him. No way out, and a huge stagger.
Yeah, that's the problem. It is going to stagger the response of getting back into position. Meteor M available. That's Lord Glorb. That's now 2 strategists down. They don't have a whole lot to play with, and because of that, the Hurricanes instantly pop. You can remove all of their heals. Looking to try and utilize the portal to get back in. They need it, but the problem is, again, it's so staggered in their fightbacks that they are being eliminated one by one by one. The payload surely gonna hit. No, just about able to survive, but well, it's a last-ditch effort, an attempt by Scarlet Witch to get back into position. It is not the case. It is a masterclass of that Spider-Man Venom combination with a little bit on the side coming through from Storm.
Well, Tom, I'm going to be honest with you. When we started out today, I was excited for the different looks that we get to see. I did not expect to see that it would be Spider-Man stealing the show. That's my favorite play of the day by far, is watching Spider-Man play. Weekend Boys will be moving on to the next round. No, the 4 and 12 with 5 assists, Jeff, is not my pick here. 0% accuracy, but no, obviously, like, I think Lord Glorb swapped for the last maybe 15 seconds.
Yeah,
2 times.
It was all about trying to get back to the side.
Exactly, movement and even evasion as well, just buying time on the payload itself with those healing orbs, but healing bubbles. Ninim, am I gone? Have my eyes stopped working? 26 final hits. That's close to double. Honestly, what anyone else. Sorry, that
maybe
is
lower
more than
than
double
what
anyone else had.
You could have told me it was 40, and I would have believed you with the way that he played in that. Because that's the thing. It was more so just the targeting. And you know what? I don't need to talk anymore about this. We're gonna go to the Ninim highlight reel, also known as the highlights.